Hello and welcome to the first breakout session of today's event. My name is Bronwyn Wainwright from Top Employers Institute, and I am broadcasting live from the event here in Amsterdam. Before I introduce today's session and our panelists, I'd like to take a moment to congratulate you all on your monumental achievement. This year we have 1,691 certified top employers creating one global movement for a better world of work. In this session, we'll be talking about what it takes to create a resilient culture. How do we foster the value of resilience in your organization? And with me today, I have three exceptional HR leaders from diverse industries covering logistics, retail, and life sciences. Let's do a round of introductions. We have with us Veronique Rozon, HR Director of Amazon South Europe. Amazon, welcome.
Was saying, I'm just passionate with learning, so I'm thrilled and very eager to exchange with Irene, Esteban, and to talk about resilience in such a good company.
Thank you, Veronique. It's really lovely to see your team behind you there. From Rituals, I'm pleased to welcome Irene Verney, Global HR Director.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. And as Veronique said, I'm also thrilled to be here, based in Amsterdam, and I'm really looking forward to having this session with all these top employers. And my special interest is in culture, in DNA, well-being, and in resilience. So I'm really looking forward to having this session together.
Thank you, Irene. And joining us from Boehringer, Ingelheim, Brazil is Esteban Blanco Zicher.
Hello, everybody. Pleasure to be here with you, to be able to be addressing this audience. I'm very happy to be speaking about culture today. So, my pleasure.
It's fantastic to have you here, Veronique, Irene, and Esteban. And to our audience, to all of you here, this is a Q&A session. It's for you to ask them your questions on culture, values, and the behaviors that drive culture. At an academic level, and I'm paraphrasing author Michael Watkins, culture is a set of patterns that people follow in the way they think, communicate, and act, and it's all grounded in shared values and assumptions. Creating a culture of resilience is, I think, especially relevant to all of us to hear today. So to kick off this Q&A session, I'm going to be asking each of our panelists a question, and please feel free to send through your questions, address them to each of the panelists. Let's do it in the round that we introduced everyone. Veronique, Amazon needs no introductions. It's been such an essential service through this pandemic. Based on your experience with the global health crisis, how have you been creating and fostering resilience at Amazon? Can you share some examples with us?
Sure, Bronwyn, but first let me thank Amazon teams with a special note to the HR teams of Italy, France, and Spain, because indeed, building resilience is an individual and collective journey. More to your point and to your question, at Amazon, safety is first, always, and especially in such an unprecedented situation. Safety is physical, but it's also mental health. And in practice, we adopted and reviewed, radically changed more than 150 processes across Europe and worldwide. Some examples, very pragmatic. To avoid crowding and queuing when shift time, at Amazon you have over 700 people crossing each other when coming in and coming out. We reviewed the layouts, the in and out, and also applied from start the 2 meters distance. So that was first our reaction. Then we checked the ergonomics of the workstation. Then we distributed millions of masks. Just imagine, only for France, we distributed 1.5 million of masks. We did created inclusive masks like this one, to be able to speak for people who are deaf, as well as keep on smiling, very important. And last but not least, we created job positions like safety angels to make sure that people would understand, would be prepared, and would change this culture. Then, in a second, in parallel, what we did as well is to train everyone to build his own resilience through coaching sessions, as well as putting themselves into a safe place through a training with a resilience, listening to, and creating a safe place to speak. And we activated an assistant employee service to make sure that everyone could call anytime in difficult personal time.
Veronique, thank you. That's covering all bases for your people and especially encouraging them to foster their own sense of resilience and to take care of themselves. Irene, I think that's Rituals is truly a global brand from Amsterdam to Paris, London to New York, and it really is a brand about self-care and well-being. Irene, what initiatives did you start during 2020 to boost well-being and resilience within your own organization and for your own people?
Well, what we did, thank you, and yes, we've really become a global luxury brand over the last couple of years, and we've grown up to over 8,000 employees. So last year, we really felt that we had to do something for our crew, for our team. So in November, we launched a new initiative, which is called the Wellbeing Winter Challenge. And the reason that we launched the initiative is because we thought that now, more than ever, it is very important to have our employees take care of their mental and physical well-being. And besides that, we learned that our employees really had a very high feeling of, wanting to be connected together again and having this connection with their fellow, employees, fellow colleagues, because they were deprived of all social activities, obviously, due to the crisis. So what we did, we launched, together with marketing, not to make it an HR party, so we used that channels. We launched a bi-weekly challenge.
Gorda.
Sorry? We launched a bi-week. I just move on. We launched a bi-weekly challenge in which we invited all our employees and we inspired them to work on their well-being. And the idea was we sent out this challenge to the whole workforce. And to give you an example, the first challenge we did was called the Shinrin Yoku challenge. And for those of you who know traditions in Japan, this is a Japanese tradition and it means bathing in the forest. So we invited all our employees throughout the world via our app to at least once a day go outside, walk in nature, then take pictures of it and share these pictures with each other to share, their experience. And the good news about walking is that it obviously boosts your well-being mentally and physically. And the idea about taking pictures and sharing them is looking at nature is also good for your resilience. So the second challenge we did was about gratitude. So we've inspired everyone to practice gratefulness and write down the stuff they're grateful for in the morning or in the evening and share again pictures of these gratefulness things with each other and make sure that they inspire each other to, make their life a little bit better. The third one was about nutrition, share, healthy habits with each other. And at the moment, we're in the middle of a new challenge, which is called Your Workout Ritual, where we share, the workouts that we have with each other. And I think the good news about this initiative is it really boosts resilience. And as Veronica just said, it's really important that you give your employees, control over their own resilience and well-being. And I think, because it's such a simple but creative idea, it can have a lot of impact. So yeah, that is how we are doing this at the moment.
That is an example exactly of resilience, not just as a value, but being translated into behaviors, and also fantastic that you brought it into with your communications department to really bring it to life. Thank you, Irene. Esteban, hi. So cultural transformation, we move from an individual level, from working with our people, to an organizational level. And cultural transformation has been a big topic for Boehringer Ingelheim, Brazil. And we've really seen this in the Top Employers Institute HR Best Practices Survey data. It shows that you've been hugely successful in adapting and accelerating your cultural transformation over the past year. Can you share the success factors with us about that?
Sure. So we've been focused really on accelerating the transformation of our culture, and of course, last year has been a key point in history. Of course, Boehringer Ingelheim's priority is to ensure access to our therapeutic solutions that improve health and quality of life to the patients in the areas that we act. And of course, during last year, taking care of our patients and those who take care of our population has been the priority for Boehringer Ingelheim around the globe, and Brazil is not the exception. We basically focus on 4 strategic pillars that we believe have been accelerated during the pandemic. We focus on purpose, very much in line to what Mariana spoke to earlier. Physical and mental health, just what Irene and Veronique shared with us before, but also social responsibility, making sure that we're close to the communities that where we act is key and essential for us. But finally, all of this needed to happen with leadership, and not any leadership. So we focus on a caring leadership and providing the resources and the tools to those leaders to be able to really support and enhance all of our employees. When it comes to purpose, basically reinforcing where we as a company make a difference and protecting the health and lives of our patients with COVID-19 risk profiles, but also improving animal well-being, since we act on both areas, so human health and animal health. We focus on what really matters to all of us: health, life, and the communities we interact with, and sustainability of our planet. When it comes to mental health, of course, our employees were the focus. We wanted to make sure that we kept providing the therapeutic solutions to our patients, and of course, our employees and their families were key in that process. So taking care of them was critical. I think many of the actions that were mentioned before apply to the protocols that were established here in Brazil to make sure that our employees were secure in providing those solutions to patients and animals. So when it comes to caring and empowering leadership, we focus very much on a culture of trust versus a culture of control. Of course, the situation demanded trust. The virtual working demanded that kind of empowerment to our employees. Continuous communication beyond hierarchical relationships, but also a culture of admitting that errors will happen. We need to learn from error. We need to learn fast. Inclusion of diverse ideas. So really, we have focused a lot during 2020, and this is the plan also for 2021, in our leadership, in enhancing these characteristics of leadership that were always important, but right now are urgent. And of course, from our employees, providing space for speak up, but also listen up of what's going on. So we want to hear, and we want to be very close to all of our employees.
Fantastic, Esteban. I think trust, communication, empowering the people, it's definitely an essential ingredient in creating that culture of resilience. We're going to move over to the quick Q&A. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump straight into the questions. Thank you for sending in your questions. We've got them flying in from the audience. So we're going to jump straight over. First question that we have coming in, Veronique, how do you measure the level of resilience at Amazon when you say it is high or low? This is coming in from Claudia Hansen.
I would say it's a very good question because it's an HR question, and we are very fortunate at Amazon. We have what we call connections program, which is really each and every employee who comes and arrive in the morning, be it at the workstation or at the office, has a question which pops up with regard to his working condition, his in all the dimensions. And indeed, during COVID-19, we focused these questions on safety, well-being, communications, and we had in instant time tons of anonymized questions to really follow up how good communication were at the every employee level, and the other way around. When people were expressing discomfort questions, we could again instantaneously see how things were working. And we have all these questions end up with a engagement index, a safety index, that we have on daily basis, which can really show where we are and act very swiftly and promptly.
It's an example of certainly real-time measurement for sure. I'm looking at the next question loading here. And we have, what tools or strategies have you offered your employees in order to help improve their resilience? Irene.
Yeah, also a very good question, and I think I've answered it partly already, because obviously one of the tools we use is our well-being challenge. But we also launched what we call we have launched a program we called Remote Booster Program, and this program we also launched in 2020, and it actually consists of a whole range of programs. And one of the most important one is that we train our employees and our managers in managing their time and energy. We have another training we call Sharpen the Saw. We train them to, let's say, strengthen their remote muscle, as we call it. Furthermore, we always provide, since we've introduced this program, all kinds of tips and tricks via the HR department. And we've also have a newsletter in which we highlight all the trainings, all the remote trainings that we have regarding this topic. We work with various trainers, online training programs, and we highlight these trainings for our employees.
Fantastic. We have a question for Esteban, who would like to ask Esteban to share what kind of actions were implemented to foster trust, and that coming from Tatiana.
Thank you very much, Tatiana. Now, of course, trust is not something that you implement from one day to the other one. This is something that we have been working for quite some years already. But basically, it's fostering encounters, fostering conversations, making sure that there's a quite transparent communication on every sensible topic. We want to make sure that the employees have spaces to speak up, spaces to bring their concerns, bring their questions, and they actually receive an answer. This is very important. So making sure that there's a close connection with the leaders of the organization is something that has been the focus, at least for the past for years, and of course accelerated during the pandemic. What we notice is organizing throughout the pandemic, coffees, café da manhãs, como as we speak in Portuguese, making sure that we have happy hours, that we can also enjoy that informal time together was something critical. But as I mentioned before, making sure that meetings are more effective, that meetings have a space for questions, for answers, and making sure to have a quick diagnose from leaders when people are, let's say, quiet, to bring them on to the meeting, making sure that everybody is included in the meeting and that we can have that diversity of ideas that we are always seeking for.
Definitely, with the pandemic, we've seen such an acceleration of transparency, the necessity for transparency in communication, diversity, inclusion. They were once topics that were touched on, and now they're really at the forefront of creating a culture of resilience. Let's move on to our next question. This is a nice challenging one. What is the limit of resilience, and forcing the limits with our people? Daniela asks this question, and I'm going to open it out to Veronique.
I don't know if there is a limit. I think that by definition, resilience is first surviving, which what we did, and then incorporating and growing and learning, and just like we were saying, it's health, it's healthy food, it's exercising, it's mental health. So I think not to say to sound too much positive, but I would say that more than a limit, it's another stage where we were all forced in, and hopefully we will keep in as a benefit, as an overall benefit.
Certainly, with a focus on well-being, we're moving away from pushing ourselves to the limits of resilience. Esteban, you commented, or you spoke on leadership as a really essential element of your cultural transformation at Boehringer Ingelheim, Brazil. We have a question coming up here from Ruth Hill asking, with all the COVID changes, how do you ensure you support your leaders too?
So first, we need to find spaces to also listen to our leaders. So we need to understand what's going on, and with that, basically, we continuously try to foster spaces where we can learn better what the pains that each one, but also the successes that they're going through. This has been part of the focus, as I mentioned before, is to continue looking for opportunities to understand what everybody's going through. This is with individual contributors. This is with leaders. But of course, we never stopped thinking about development. We never stopped thinking about training throughout the pandemic, and this also has been critical to better understand how to support them.
Great. And Irene, a question for you. What are the top 3 aspects, I guess, of well-being or resilience that we need to consider when we implement, or to consider or implement, should I say?
Well, I think it's extremely important to know your target audience. So you can implement anything, but you have to know your customer, your target audience. So you have to know what the needs of your employees are. That would be one. Second, I would say what you have to consider is, the question was asked before to Veronique, you have to be able to measure what you'll be doing, because otherwise you're doing it, but you obviously want to know if you succeed. And for example, what we did, we have introduced what we call the people pulse, which is a pulse that we use to measure the resilience, the engagement, and the proudness of the people that work in our company. But what we also did is we said we are going to incorporate well-being and resilience in the yearly performance review. So it's a fixed topic in the review to discuss at least 4 times, or even 4 + 10 times a year, the topic of resilience and well-being. So I would say know your audience. The second one would be make sure you were able to measure it and to maintain the topic. And the third one but that's my personal opinion, I would really be very creative when it comes to resilience, because if you want to boost and if you want to train this muscle, it has to be a little bit fun as well, you know, if you want to train something for the better. So I would really recommend everybody to make sure it's kind of creative as well. Yeah.
Irene, I think we really see that in the examples that you were providing about well-being at rituals with the exercises that you had on a daily basis with your people. So that creativity is essential. We're coming down to the last minute of the session. I'm going to squeeze in one question for you, Veronique. How do you motivate your employees to be part of these different programs, considering that everyone is busy between jobs and personal responsibility? It's a really relevant question.
Indeed, it's relevant. I think it's just and because of the size, but also because of the magnitude of the topic, it's to, and we did so at Amazon, it's setting the appropriate mechanisms. And I was referring a little bit like Irene to, and Esteban as well, what does leaders needs to do to be themselves in a safe place, but also to make sure their team are in a safe place. And to me, that would be the structuring question we have to focus on.
Thank you, Veronique. And to our audience, thank you for your intriguing and relevant questions today. We're coming to the end of our session. The next breakout session will be beginning shortly. Thank you to our panelists, Veronique, Irene, Esteban. I hope you've all found this as interesting as I have. Have a good next session.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.